Hello YouTube, Hattie Drago is back with another top 10 video. This time is top 10 Fate Reforged cards. Yes, it's been over a month now since Fate Reforged has been out, but I have been a bit out of the loop with it, so now I'll be going through it with all of you. So first, our two honorable mentions are Atarka and Ojutai. All 5 legendary dragons are on this list, kind of. Atarka and Ojutai are only here on honorable mentions because of how high their mana cost is. I mean, 7 drop for Atarka, I think it's fair, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to use it in anything other than red-green monsters or Timor mid-range or anything like that. So she doesn't really have a lot she can fit into in standard. Casual and commander, have a go at it. And Ojutai is decent, and I could see him being in some kind of control deck in standard, but the problem with that, Pearl Lake Ancient exists in standard, and Pearl Lake Ancient cycles the same time as him, so there's almost no point. Number 10 on my list is Dromoka the Eternal. Dromoka is only number 10 because of kind of how boring she is. She's a 5-drop 5/5 with flying, that's great, but she only gets her bolster attacking ability, whereas the other 4 dragons have at least something else. Kolaghan with dash, Ojutai with vigilance, etc., etc. So, I mean, I can see her being played in standard in some form of deck, but at the same time, her mana cost in those colors kind of already has Wingmate Rock, other Wingmate Rock. That's all you have to say is Wingmate Rock, and we're done with this. Crucible of the Spirit Dragon. A lot of the cards on this list are dragon related because I love dragons so much. They're my favorite living being ever, mythological creature ever. And you know this is going to be going into every single one of the dragon decks that I will plan forever. Even in standard, I'm trying to plan some form of dragon deck that this will be in. And just the potential to be able to charge and get all sorts of dragons out. And even for activated abilities of dragons, that's a good part too. Especially with Scion of the Ur-Dragon, I believe, requires mana to use his ability, so just use this every single time to get Scion of the Ur-Dragon's ability active for commander. And, you know, bring him out as your commander. Overall, Crucible is a good card for dragon decks. Limited, bad. Standard, not going to be showing up very often. Any other format except casual and commander, it's probably not going to be in. Number 8 is Shockmaw Dragon, mainly because he reminds me a lot of Thundermaw Dragon with his name, and it makes me a little nostalgic. His ability is not bad. He's probably the 2nd or 3rd best of the uncommon cycle of dragons, and I enjoy that. His art is interesting. His flavor text is good, and he's a bomb. He's a bomb unlimited, just like his other uncommon dragon brethren. Speaking of which, number 7 is Wardscale Dragon, which is probably the best uncommon dragon in the cycle. 6-drop 4/4 flying in white is always good, and then as long as it's attacking, defending player can't cast spells. What's not to like? I mean, limited, obviously this is going to be great. Standard, it has some potential, maybe a sideboard card. And maybe if Dragons of Tarkir comes out and there's more dragon support, this might be able to be played. As is right now, standard, no, but I wish it was. I really wish there was this kind of ability in standard so that I could use it against someone. Number 6 is Timorous Sabretooth. He is a cat, a kitty cat, and one of my 3 favorite creatures: dragons, wolves, cats. And his ability is great. His power and toughness versus his converted mana cost is great. 4-drop, 4/3 is definitely good. I mean, if you somehow get a Siege Rhino in your first or second pack of draft, you're obviously going to use the Siege Rhino with. You're going to use the Siege Rhino with this, but you prefer that Siege Rhino over this. But his ability is great for if you're going with a manifest or morph strategy. And overall, it's exceptionally good, and I love the art on this card. It's telling a story. Reality Shift the top 5 cards are all cards that are going to be in my deck brew on Wednesday. So if you can guess what deck I'm building with these 5 cards, be my guest and guest. Alright, so this Reality Shift, it's essentially Pongify, Turn to Frog, Swan Song in a sense. That's just basic blue removal. But in the format that we're in, this is probably the most important basic blue removal. Just comparing this with Turn to Frog, which is in standard right now. Turn to Frog potentially gets rid of the creature. If it's blocking, if it's attacking and you're blocking it, that's potentially going to happen. Your opponent can still have tricks and stuff. Reality Shift, it just exiles it. It gets rid of it. Actually, another thing about Turn to Frog versus Reality Shift. Turn to Frog will just potentially destroy the card. Against whip decks, and Obzon Whip, CDC Whip, any whip that exists, you don't want those cards going to the grave. You want them getting exiled. That's where Reality Shift is better in this case. Just getting rid of the card, but in return you're giving them a 2/2. Which potentially could be, anything else that exists. It could be even a copy of the card that you just got rid of. But it could also, thanks to Courser Crucifix being in a lot of these whip decks, you could already know what the manifest card is going to be. So I think this card has a lot of potential. Sideboard, definitely. Main board, maybe. Depending on how many whip decks are in your LGS or in a competitive field. Kolaghan Storm's Fury is my number 4. I love her to death. I think she has a great effect. Her effect combination, I think, is great. And another thing, she also makes me think of Thundermaw Hellkite. I get 2 Thundermaw Hellkites this set. She is the actual effect of Thundermaw Hellkite side of it. The only thing she's missing is the fact that she doesn't get rid of 1/1 flyers like Thundermaw Hellkite does, but that's not relevant in this format. Except for the Horniquin. But with her dash ability, she's essentially a 5/5 for 5 flying flash dragon, aka Thundermaw Hellkite. My case in point. And her ability powers all creatures, not just dragons, all creatures. I could see her being used in a good amount of decks. People are going to try her in standard. She's definitely going to be used in casual and commander. And I'd like to see her in standard. I think she'd be great. Number 3 is Crux of Fate, one of the first 2 cards that was revealed for Fate Reforged. And it's essentially Damnation. The only Damnation we're probably going to get in standard forever. Although, hopefully Damnation gets reprinted in Modern Masters or something in the future. Anywho, so Crux of Fate, it's got the choice to destroy all dragons, destroy all non-dragons, but 99% of the time you're going to be picking destroy all non-dragons. Even if you're going up against a red deck that's using Stormbreath Dragon, they got one in the field, you probably can deal with that Stormbreath Dragon with whatever else you have. Especially if you're using a dragon deck also, you can block the Stormbreath Dragon. And you could also Hero's Downfall the Stormbreath Dragon later, or you can Reality Shift the Stormbreath Dragon later. There's a lot of things you can do against just, the singleton dragons that you're going to have to deal with. The only thing is Saloon Gar, which I'll talk about later. Saloon Gar, this would have to be one of the very few ways of killing Saloon Gar, if you need to. Oh, and the flavor of this card is also phenomenal. Love the art, love the flavor text, love the story behind it. Mugen the Spirit Dragon is a big, giant planeswalker that just makes your life happier. If you're able to get 8 mana reasonably in 1 turn, you're playing Mugen in your deck. In Standard, in Modern, in Legacy, in Commander, especially. Now, all his abilities are great. Dealing 3 damage, awesome. Exiling permanents, awesome. Getting all the things that you need, awesome. Although, granted, you might have to discard cards because of the -10 ability, but hey, depending on what deck you're in, you want to discard cards. especially in Standard. So, good for you, Mugen. You have a great card, and he is also the least, so far, the least egotistical dragon in Magic history. Because Nicol Bolas and Niv Mizzet really aren't the best representation of dragons when it comes. Yeah, he doesn't have an ego, which is good. Speaking of dragons with egos, my god! Number 1 on my list is Saloon Gar. In the storyline recently, he does have a big ego on him, now that he rules everything of Sultai. Or what Sultai used to be. But getting to the card itself, first off, that artwork, I would run for my life from this artwork, from this dragon. I love him. But the card in general is just overall amazing. It's 6-drop 3/7, which is great. And the 3 gets around Elspeth. His -1 ability kills Elspeth tokens, and tokens in general of any other sort. Flying hexproof is just what makes him great. And if Pearl Lake Ancient didn't exist, this would be the card that's in every single blue-black control deck. Of course, Pearl Lake Ancient exists, so they're probably going to be friends now. And again, the art, he kind of looks like an awesome crocodile snake dragon. I love his brood of dragons, I think, are the most uniquely designed, and I love them for that. So overall, this is my top 10. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Leave a comment below if you can guess what kind of deck I'll be building with the first 5 of my top 10 list, which, in review, Saloon Gar, Mugen, Crux of Fate, Kolaghan, and Reality Shift in the sideboard will be in my deck on Wednesday's brew. I'll leave a link to my website in the description below, and I'll leave a link to the Hex Shards of Fate deck list article in particular. Hope you guys enjoyed my video, and I'll see you next week.